All right, guys. Hey, it's Emily. I hope you're well. It's Tuesday. It's like 11:40. Um, I promised you I'd come back after I went to the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel, and you know how you get on camera? Maybe you don't because you don't have as many meetings as I do, but I always seem to try to look at my hair right as I join. So that was the reason why I was fretting over here over this situation. Anywho, I did go to the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel Meeting this morning, and I want to tell you all about it. Okay, all about it. All right. So, and let me just say, I want to back up because I want to make sure that you know that I am not affiliated. And if you haven't figured this out yet, um, I am not affiliated with the Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association, its board of directors, its property management group, management office, or any other representatives that claim to be part of any kind of governing entity as part of this community. That's not to say I won't down the road. It's just not right for me right now. Okay. So, but today, I'm just a neighbor. I live here and I got traffic tickets. And we're going to talk about how that went because it was fun. I got really heated 3 times. I have a Garmin watch, and 3 times my watch went off during the meeting, telling me that my heart rate was abnormally high. I was like, yes, I know, because these people are getting me heated. So here, look, I put together a little thing because as we all know, I can be long-winded. You're going to want to stick around though, because this is kind of news, especially if you live in Fairfield Harbor that you want to know, especially if you're driving down Pelican these days. But if you're not living in Fairfield Harbor today, I know we have several people that leave comments actively in this YouTube channel because they own property here, but they live elsewhere a majority, if not all of the year, and they rent out their property here. So this is important for you because you will be assessed traffic violations and monetary fees and potentially liens on your property if you do not pay these fines. And if you're looking to move here, it's just something to be aware of as this kind of speed enforcement policy has taken our community to a next level. I'm not really sure why this is going in and out of focus. Sorry if that is a trigger for you. I hope you're not epileptic. I don't know why it's doing that though. I'm here. I don't know what it's trying to focus on that it can't. Oh, it's maybe my glasses. Okay. Well, I won't be able to see anything I'm reading. All right. I do have us kind of a agenda for today. Okay. So let's talk about it. All right. Talking points for today. We're going to go through some quick links on FrontSteps, so you know where to find all of this information. Okay. I want to talk to you about how FrontSteps works from my perspective. Again, I took down the Fairfield Harbour podcast logo that I created because again, I'm not affiliated with anything having to do with the ownership and enforcement of our regulations, DORs, all that fun stuff. Okay. I just live here. I own 2 properties in Fairfield Harbor. I am just a concerned citizen, for lack of a better word. So I took down that podcast logo because I'm going to change the name of the podcast. I don't know what the name's going to be. If you have a fun, creative name you'd like to throw my way, I would love to hear it. So please leave it in the comments, direct message me. I think about 2,500 people now have my cell phone. My texts have been going off for the past 3 weeks pretty regularly. So text me, call me, leave me a comment. I would love that. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, I would love for you to do that. You just hit the little subscription, hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when I post new content. I don't post at the same time every day, every week, whatever, because I have a life. This is just part of it. Okay. So turn on the notification bell. That way YouTube lets you know when I upload new content. But yeah, let's get into it. So talking points for today. We're going to go through some quick links on FrontSteps so you know what FrontSteps is, how to navigate it. And if you don't have access to FrontSteps, I mean, I don't use it all the time, right? Because it should technically be pushing communications to my inbox when they're published, but they're not always, as we will learn. So it is nice for you to be able to go look this stuff up for yourself. I will review a handout. So when we went to the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel meeting this morning, I got a piece of paper that the Safety and Security Committee put together that is not available on FrontSteps. Or I asked where I could find this, and I was told it's right here. So I have scanned it, and I'm going to share it with you, okay? I will read with you the letter I prepared to present at this morning's meeting. Oh, there's one thing I need to send to myself. Hold on one second while we're doing this. Because am I prepared? Could I be more prepared? Yep, I could. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. So anyway, I will show you too. There is a form that you fill out as you go into the adjudicatory panel meeting for traffic. So I will go over that form with you, and then we'll talk through the talking points and the reactions as we presented. My husband and I were first in line, so we were first in, and that was telling. Okay. All right. So let's talk through some quick links on FrontSteps. I am going to share my screen. We are professionals here. All right. So this is FrontSteps. All right. Main navigation. This is where you're going to go to access all key areas of this portal and explore each feature to learn more. We don't need that crap. All right. So the 2023 Board of Directors contact information. Here's how you're going to, get in touch with everybody should you so need them. That's nice. But where we want to go today, I will tell you on this this is the dashboard page. All right. It tells you your name and the owner. That's where you can also update some settings that allow or don't allow you to push information. But you can see here that the beacon for August, it's now August the 15th, has had 14 views through FrontSteps. So notices about all the food trucks that come in and out of our community. And then I don't see it here. I don't see it here, but on your mobile app, there is also a FrontSteps mobile app. You can actually say, show me more, and it will give you more of these notices. Again, it's mostly all food trucks, but it will back you down if you go to July 20th, where the new policy was updated for the speeding enforcement. So we're going to talk about where to find it. All right. So if you go to documents, so under documents and FAQs here on the left-hand screen, if you go to documents, this is all of our information. Now, some of this information, like the declarations of restrictions, those types of things are available publicly because folks that are purchasing property here in Fairfield Harbour have to be able to read the DORs and other pieces of information before they purchase a property in here. But some of this information, like rules for the adjudicatory panel, board meeting minutes, all of that fun stuff, is not. It is behind the firewall of FrontSteps. So you do have to have a username and password to log in. So if you do not have one of those, maybe call the office and ask them how to go about getting one. Or maybe you can go here. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't remember how I got access several years ago. So anyway, so how I found this, how I started my research process, I'm going to look for the word speed in here. Okay. And you can see that there is this number 16. It doesn't tell me what folder it's in. I don't really care. But the regulation of common areas, addendum speed policy effective 1/8/2023. So the last notice we got from FrontSteps that there had been changes made to the original policy published was on July 20th. You will see that Jennifer uploaded a new document on July 31st, 2023. This was not kind of out there in your notices on the dashboard, kind of alerts of things to be made aware of. It was not there, and it did not get pushed via email based on my email. I looked in spam, I looked in my deleted folder, I looked in my junk folders, I looked everywhere. I could not find it. But anyway, I did go back because I've been printing all of these. I printed the original, I printed the revision that was published on the 20th when they made changes to remove the 9 mile per hour kind of overage, if you will, before you would be assessed a fine. And then I did a comparison of this new July 31st revision to the changes made revision that was posted. And the other thing that changed was the dates and times for the traffic adjudicatory panel meeting. This policy prior had said it meets the first and last Tuesday of each month. The letter that you get with your violation says it's the first and third Tuesday, so there was a disconnect there. So this policy was updated to make sure that the dates in both are congruent and read the same. So the traffic adjudicatory panel meets on the first and third Tuesday of each month from 9 to 11. Okay. Just getting some stuff together here for myself. All right. So let's read through this because I think it's important for people to be mindful, especially for those people who don't like to read or can't read or whatever. Oh, I don't even think you're seeing this. Let's see what you're seeing. No, you're not even seeing this. So let me back up. Stop sharing. Present. Share my screen. Share. All right, look. This is what I was telling you. So this is that policy that was revised July 31st. I clicked on it. And again, down here, it was the dates and times for the first and third Tuesday of each month. But let's read through the whole thing. I am drinking Mama's little yellow pills because that's what I needed after the meeting this morning. So the Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association, new speed limit, 30 miles per hour, new speed enforcement policies, gate entry policies. Note that it's IES, meaning plural. This is a policy, not policies, because they're in a singular document, and we don't even really talk about gate entry. Whatever. It's kind of like a shadow in the light of everything else, right? So, all right. The Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association has approved and will implement the following policies effective August 1st, 2023. Also, note, there is no notice that this has been revised twice before you're seeing this July 31st edition. Okay, so if you did not do like I did and kind of be following the paper trail of the dates and times uploaded, because I'm a psycho that way, this should say revised speed enforcement policies, right? And gate entry policies, but it doesn't. It makes you think that this is the first original document. It makes people think that they're crazy when they know it read something different before. So the maximum speed in Fairfield Harbour will be set at 30 miles per hour. The new speed limit within Fairfield Harbour will be monitored and subject to enforcement using speed signs and cameras. The 30 mile per hour speed limit applies to all motorized vehicles. Any vehicles observed traveling more than the posted speed limit are subject to monetary penalties. Fairfield Harbour fines do not affect North Carolina driver's license points or vehicle insurance rates. And that's also echoed in the North Carolina General Assembly statutes. So I will pause to say that this applies to all, in all caps, motorized vehicles. Then later you will read about the golf cart and its policy. Your golf cart doesn't have a speedometer on it. So if you have mine doesn't. If you have outfitted your golf cart with bigger tires or a larger engine and your golf cart can exceed 30 miles per hour, I mean, you aren't necessarily going to know that. Just putting it out there. Be careful. Fines of $50 per infraction must be paid to the Fairfield Harbor Property Owners Association within 30 days. If not paid in this time period, the fine will be doubled to $100. A traffic adjudicatory panel will assemble twice a month to meet with recipients of these fines if the vehicle owners choose to dispute the violation. Note here, and it was made very clear this morning, this states that they will assemble twice a month to meet with recipients of these fines if the vehicle owners choose to dispute the violation. My tickets were assigned to me, yet the vehicle in question is not mine, nor do I own it, nor is it registered to me in the state of North Carolina. But it was made very clear to me this morning that even for renters, while it doesn't read this way in here, even for renters, it is my job as the property owner to pay the fine and then get the fine from my tenant. So if the property owner is going to get the fee and be forced to pay it, it doesn't matter who the owner of the vehicle is, basically, is what I'm saying. And I do get wrapped around the axle, and this does make me have heart palpitations because legalities and things like that are in the letter of the law. Literally, you will get hung up in the technicalities based on the words you use. This is why reading and writing and articulating are so important. This will get you in trouble and you will be in default on a technicality. But I meant this. You said this when I showed up to the traffic adjudicatory panel. What you said multiple times does not align with what is in the written documentation. So if you want me to do what you say, not what you do, I need to know that. That's an assumption that needs to be made clear. If you want me to do as you have written and not as you say, then I need to understand that this traffic adjudicatory panel understands that that assumption will be applied. You cannot have it both ways. Okay? Just, all right. Additionally, to keep our shoreline and harbor point gates working as intended, every vehicle without a barcode decal will have to use the visitors lane and provide the full name, the nature of their business, and destination. All plate numbers will be recorded, then a pass will be issued by gate personnel and will be visible on the dashboard at all times. All residents must call the Shoreline Gatehouse at that number, 252-636-5566, to all visitors, guests, and contractors in advance. This last requirement will assist the gate personnel in getting these visitors through the gates more efficiently. It is the hope,
It is the hope of your POA board that these new policies will keep your community secure and make living in our beautiful neighborhood more enjoyable.
So the Fairfield Harbor Traffic Rules and Regulations. This is a subsidiary addendum to the Regulations for Common Areas, Section 6 Rules for Roadways, effective August 1st, 2023. Policy for enforcement for speeding. It's a lot of fours. 1, the new 30 mile per hour MPH speed limit within Fairfield Harbor will be monitored and subject to enforcement through the use of speed signs and cameras. Plural. We did confirm. My husband attended this morning's traffic adjudicatory panel with me, and we did get confirmation from the Safety and Security Committee that there is one camera. There is one camera. I will show you a map here in just a minute of Fairfield Harbor and show you where the camera and the potential for where it could move to, where that's located. Okay, so we'll go through that here in a second. But it's not plural today. All right. The 30 mile per hour speed limit applies to all motorized vehicles. All vehicles observed traveling in excess of the 30 mile per hour limit are subject to penalties as defined below. Fairfield Harbor fines do not affect North Carolina driver's license points or vehicle insurance rates. Procedures and penalties. Property owners. Fines are to be paid within 30 days to the Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association. Once a speed violation is issued, the postmark date on the letter is the recorded start time. Okay, the violator will have two options within this period not to become delinquent. One, you just pay the $50 fine to the POA, or two, appear before the traffic adjudication panel. That's what we chose to do. The traffic adjudication panel will meet twice a month on the first and third Tuesdays of each month from 9 to 10 a.m. in room 3 of the activities building. It said 9 to 10. I took almost 40 minutes. And I will tell you, when I got to the traffic adjudicatory panel meeting this morning, I got there like 10 minutes-ish before the meeting was scheduled to start. The door was still locked to the activities room. A member of the safety and security committee did need to go to the office to get the keys to unlock that building. Then they had to get the room set up, but then they couldn't get the technology working to be able to show me the tag that they were able to use to assess that my vehicle is the one that was actually observed in violation of the speed policy, so that their technology wasn't working. And then we started about 8 minutes into the hour, and I came out of the room at 9:37. And I do believe that the traffic adjudicatory panel was still talking to me, but I had had enough. But there were also, and I was trying to be respectful, apologies to those that were waiting. When I came out of the room, there was one lady that after she learned we were not going into the adjudicatory, words are hard when you're mad. Not even just when you're mad, words are hard. But when she learned, bless her heart too, she had a cane and she did her best to get there early so that she could be heard. And when she learned that we were not going in as a group to be heard and be able to support each other, she literally like threw her ticket and $50 in cash at God, his last name was Abel, I think, from the safety and security panel, and was like, obviously this is how this is going to go. If you're not going to hear us as a group, you can just take my money. That's obviously where this is going to go. There were other people there that had not received speed violations, but wanted to understand how the traffic adjudicatory process worked. And they are not going to be allowed into the room to see how the meeting went, or to see kind of the logic behind how decisions were made. And when I came out of the room, so there were 4 of us waiting there. I went first, me and my husband, and then there was the guy who was there who had no violation but wanted to understand kind of the process. Then there were the one lady that left, and then there was another lady that just came in as we were leaving. When I came out, there were 6 more people standing in that room, kind of waiting for their turn. So there were quite a few people. They were not, if people were like me and did their homework, they were not going to get through all of that in an hour. I don't know, and I hope to find this out, if they just did a hard cutoff. Sorry, it's 10 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock, we're done, and peace. You have to meet up with us at the next. What does that do then to the time period? There's nothing in this policy that contemplates going over the times allowed. I don't think if you're going to be subject to give 2,800 tickets a day, that's how many houses. We were told today there were approximately 2,800 homes in Fairfield Harbor is the number they were giving us today. So if every single property owner is, or visitor, guest, commercial driver, contractor is subject to a fine, and everyone is allowed to come to appeal that to the traffic adjudicatory panel, and you can get multiple fines per day, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are going to want to be heard. You cannot limit this to 2 hours. And maybe you can. Maybe you just tell them that they come back to the next one. But then are we at risk of exceeding the 30-day time limit that people have from the date that the letter was postmarked? Like, this is all circular logic that no one has taken the time to create or to contemplate and put down what we're going to do as the mitigation strategy should there be an issue with time. I digress. Okay. It meets in room 3 of the activities building. Appointments will not be scheduled. Violators will be processed on a first come, first heard basis and follow the instructions on your speeding violation for hearing times. Please allow plenty of time due to potential volume. But yet the time limit is an hour in this policy. It says 9 to 10 a.m. on here, and I'm pretty sure that the letter, because Lord knows when the people that heard me this morning from the Safety and Security Minute watch this, they are going to flip their lids. But on here, it says, 9 to 10. I don't know if they're going to stop it at 10. They had a lot of work to do if they were going to. After 30 days from the postmark date of the notice sent, if unpaid, the fine will be doubled to $100 and charged a late fee of $20. A 15-day demand letter will be sent to the violator. After 60 days from the processing date on the speed violation, the account will go to collections. The violator will be charged an additional legal fee of $450 for filing a lien, plus any late fees. Under North Carolina law, fines become assessments against the owner's property within Fairfield Harbor and are subject to a late fee per month, as with any other assessment. In accordance with Fairfield Harbor Property Owner Association governing documents, a lien may be placed on any property owner account which is more than 60 days past due, and the homeowner is responsible for the payment of any legal costs. Fines and other suspensions of privileges. I found this interesting. Fines and other suspensions of privileges after the initial traffic adjudication panel hearing may be assessed by the POA without further process. So I got heard this morning, right? Based on the way this is written and the ambiguity therein, I mean, my barcode could not work on my car right now. They could literally assess fines and suspend other privileges after the hearing this morning. It doesn't say after a decision is made from the hearing. It doesn't say what the definitions of fines and other suspensions are. It does not give you details as to what those fines or other suspension of privileges could be. It just says may be assessed by the POA without further process. Without further process. Okay. And I would love to think that our board and the Safety and Security Committee that kind of governs this traffic adjudicatory panel have the best of intentions. Given the meeting this morning, they're all hiding. My perception is that they're hiding behind North Carolina General Assembly statutes, and they're not really sure what's written in the policy and procedure. They're not really sure. They are not on the same page about what and how they are going to communicate. And they are not respectful whenever you're in the meeting. I was reading through a statute from the General Assembly in the meeting when the lady, and I swear, y'all, I will get to it. I will get through it. She started laughing at me while I was reading. And in my mind and in my body, like literally my watch went off right at that point. I could feel my blood pressure rise because how dare you? You assigned a fine to me. I came prepared with the information that I could glean based on legal representation that I had gone and sought counsel with, and based on my best efforts to understand the crap that you're putting out here. I came prepared to make my case, and you laugh at me. We'll get there. I just literally at that point, my husband was still talking, and I was like, not to be rude. Like, I just kind of tapped him on the shoulder, but like, I am out. Y'all can continue this conversation. I will not be laughed at when I'm here trying to give you my appeal, and you are expected to hear it in an unbiased fashion and respect me as a person, as a community member, as a neighbor, as a human being, and you laugh at me. Procedures and penalties for renters. We have a rental property. We have not rented it yet because I'm trying to figure out all this, for the lack of a better word. because I need to make sure my renters don't get my house liened, right? So renters will be sent a speeding violation just as property owners, with a copy of each offense letter sent to both the renter and the landlord. If the renter does not pay the fine within 30 days, nor appears before the traffic adjudication panel, all fines levied will be an assessment against the property. Therefore, additional fines, late charges, interest, and legal fees will occur as described, along with a lien against the property owner. And again, the lady that laughed at me sitting at the end of the table with the salt and pepper curly gray hair, and I wish I had her name, and we'll get to the reason why I don't. She said, literally out of her mouth, I wrote it down on my notes because I was taking notes as we were talking. And she literally said, the fines are not sent to the renters, they are sent to the property owners. It is up to the property owner to pay the fine and then get that money from the renter. So this doesn't even really apply. Or if it does apply, what she says is different than what's in documentation and what's going to go down. What is the answer? What is the answer? I will call you back, John. We're trying here. There are residents in this community trying to live here peacefully within the restrictions, within the parameters of safety and security. We want the community to be safe and secure. I'm all for a 30 mile per hour speed limit. I wish you'd change it to 25. I want to be a good neighbor. I don't want to be this person, but you're pushing us, those of us that want to follow the rules, that want to make sure our home values stay as high as they can, that want to make sure we raise our kids in a community that is safe, where people are neighborly, where we respect one another. We want to do that. And you're making it literally impossible by documenting ambiguous at best language on a piece of paper and then saying something completely different when you go to appeal. I'm going to leave it there. Procedures and penalties for commercial drivers, contractors, and guests. All vehicles entering the gate will have to provide the driver's full name, the nature of their business, and whom they plan on visiting. All plate numbers will be recorded. Then a pass will be issued by gate personnel and will be visible on the dashboard at all times. That has not happened yet, to my knowledge. I just had my yard crew here. I looked. Did I ask them for it? No, because it should be visible on the dashboard at all times. But their little truck with the trailer behind it that has the mowing equipment on it, there was no Fairfield Harbour Property Owner Association pass in their windshield. And this took effect August 1st. Okay. Company management and or property owners that host contractors and guests will be notified of speeding violations. If fines are not paid within 30 days, company personnel and or guests may not be allowed to drive within Fairfield Harbour until the fine is paid. And repeated speeding violations may result in the company and or guests not being allowed to drive, within Fairfield Harbour for a minimum of 30 days. There is no maximum defined because it's just, from my point of view, it's 30 days or never. Repeat offenders may be barred from future entrance. The right to appeal. The POA Board of Directors will be the final judicial review body in this process. All appeals must follow the appeal process outlined in the Fairfield Harbour Property Owner Association Traffic Adjudicatory Panel Appeal Procedure, which was not posted until 3:48 p.m. on Friday, August the 11th. So that was near end of business on Friday, less than 5 days, less than 2 business days before the first traffic adjudication panel meeting. Nor was there notice sent out through FrontSteps on the bulletin board, nor was it pushed through email. For those that are planning to appear before the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel on Tuesday, August 15th, we wanted to make you aware that apologies for the delay. We just were able to get the instruction guide put out for how that meeting will run and what that process looks like. Please take a look at it before the meeting on Tuesday. That's not hard. That's not hard. Ramona, oh my gosh. Oh. I'm going to hold it up, Ramona. I can't even see if you can see this, but that's not how this works. You have to be willing to admit when you're wrong. I know I saw the ladies post on Facebook. We're trying our best. This is all new. Changes are expected. Yes, we agree, but be forthright with those. Be vulnerable in admitting the fact that we are all human and we make mistakes and nobody expects you to be perfect. The fact that you just push it out as this is what it is and there is no room for error. There's no room for human error. There's no room for anybody to take exception or suggest even that there are errors in your document. You just fix it. I override it with the new document. I don't even mark that. I mean, this says approved by the board of directors on May 15th, but there have been 2 revisions after that. Did the board of directors approve the revisions? Does it say anywhere in here that this was revised on July 20th to make changes to the speed of which fines would be assessed, and then again on July 31st to make sure that the dates and times are congruous with the actual violation letter? No, it doesn't say that this has been revised in any way. It is not forthright. It's just not right. It's not right. And I won't not say that it's right. And I won't just brush this under the rug and, oh, you know what? They're human. It happens. No, because I got fines for $100 I got to pay. I want it to be right. Or I want us to at least have a conversation where I'm not laughed at in my appeal hearing. I want the opportunity to be heard. And you're not giving me that. So this policy, and I guess any revisions that come here after were approved on May 15th, 2023 by whoever the hell's signatures that is, probably Phil Hewitt. And then we have this shit show, sorry, of a policy of a freaking, I want you to take a look at this, right? And then I'm going to show you, let me stop sharing this. I'm going to show you, I do want, cannot, y'all, I swear I try so hard. I don't want a Chrome tab. Let me just share my entire screen and let's see if I can pull this up. This is my proposed revision and I have it printed, and I do plan to send this to Jennifer with a letter that talks through how my experience was at this first traffic adjudicatory panel meeting today. But this is my proposed revision. This is what a process map actually looks like, okay? You get the speeding violation. There are different decision points made throughout the process. The alleged offense is applicable. Yes, I was speeding. Pay the fine. We're done. No, I wasn't speeding. I'm going to the traffic adjudicatory panel. Now, as of when I did my last video, we couldn't go any further because the traffic adjudicatory panel instruction guide was not published. Okay, so there's that. But the traffic adjudicatory panel meets twice a month on the first and third Tuesdays at 9. No appointments needed. It's first come, first heard. Okay, and then now that we have this document, I'm going to read through it too. We have you either have a hearing that's uncontested. So that means that you go to the traffic adjudicatory panel and it's uncontested. You're going to pay the fines assessed within the 30-day violation letter date. If you pay those fines, then your case is closed. If you don't, then after 30 days, that fine doubles plus the late fee. Then a 15-day demand letter will be sent to the property owner. Then after 60 days, you follow the collections policy and you're charged that legal fee to have a lien put on your property. If you're contesting your hearing after the traffic adjudicatory panel makes their decision at the conclusion of the meeting, but not more than 3 days after the conclusion of the hearing, if your appeal was approved, then the violations are withdrawn and there's no financial penalty. Your case is closed. But if the appeal is denied, your violations stand and you have options. The property owner appeals to the board of directors. And then if the board of directors say, you meet with them, right? And if you need to pay your fines, you pay them within 30 days and they're closed. But if it's not after 30 days, then the fine doubles to $100. You get the late fee. You follow the same process. But this is an actual process map that takes you through what this needs to look like. Okay. So this, I don't understand. I do not like seeing how many of me could there actually be? No one needs this many Emilys in their life, right? Okay. That first process map, it's not a real thing. Okay. And again, if somebody ever gives you a process map that looks like a bunch of misplaced lines connected to a bunch of boxes and there's really no rhyme or reason, it does not logically take you through the flow of the process, that person or group of people have no idea what they're talking about. I will be submitting this. I labeled it Proposed Revision to the Fairfield Harbour Policy of Enforcement for Speeding Flowchart, proposed by Emily Bartlett on August the 15th. I'm sharing it with you here first. I plan to send it to the board for review and consideration because I want to be part of the process. I want our stuff done right. I want people to be able to live here in harmony, but you're making that impossible for me today. And maybe it's just me, but it's very hard. And I know we're 40 minutes in, but I'm going to keep going. Let me see. Let's go back. What am I going to present next? What did I say I was going to present next? So we talked about FrontSteps. Let me walk you through too while I'm talking about it. No. I guess we're just going to share the whole screen again. Sorry, peeps. I don't know why I can't share Adobe here. Anyway, this is my proposed revision. This is a logical process map. And sure, there could be changes made here. I'm not married to this, but it's better than what we got. And I'm happy to share. Okay. So let's talk about this is what we just read. This is the July 31st version of the thing. And then this is the August 11th version of the Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association Traffic Adjudicatory Panel instructions. Okay. Introduction. These Traffic Adjudicatory Panel, TAP is how we are referring to that panel, guidelines approved by the board of directors are intended to help build. I have to do my voice again because it's so just too much.
These Traffic Adjudicatory Panel TAP guidelines approved by the Board of Directors are intended to help build a sense of community and an enriched quality of life for residents of Fairfield Harbour. In general, we hope to use the fewest rules and procedures necessary to encourage our residents to be good stewards in meeting their responsibilities to each other, to the greater community that surrounds us, and to the preservation of the natural qualities that attracted us to Fairfield Harbour.
That's what we want. But that's not how we're going to get there, because while we want the fewest rules and procedures necessary, we're going to add to. Do you see what we did there? We said we want fewer, but we actually created more in doing that. Very similar to how our national government's being run. I mean, you can't make it up. And sorry, I'm the one calling it out. You just can't make it up. Okay, so in general, oh no, I lost my place. Okay. Yes, let's be attracted to the preservation of the natural qualities that attracted us to Fairfield Harbor. They should be used for the administration and enforcement of the covenants and restrictions that have been adopted either by our community or by government authority. We also hope that they will contribute positively to members' investment in Fairfield Harbor, particularly in preserving property values. The Fairfield Harbor Property Owners Association, Inc., POA, as we'll call it from here on out, will be guided and comply with applicable provisions of the North Carolina Planned Community Act of 1999. That's North Carolina General Assembly Statute 47F, the Act, and any applicable amendments thereto. The panel shall treat each property owner with courtesy and respect, and maintain at all times the confidentiality of each property owner's dealings with the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel. Because the POA provides indemnity coverage to members of the Adjudicatory Panel, and because, generally speaking, actions of homeowner association adjudicatory panels create risks of legal action to such associations, it is essential that members that members of the POA's Traffic Adjudicatory Panel follow these instructions with great care. We saw that this morning. For sure, and I say this sarcastically speaking, so insert sarcasm here, we were definitely treated with the utmost courtesy and respect at all times. I actually got told at one point during the meeting to not take this personal. It's my personal property we're talking about here. So the North Carolina General Assembly statute, and I'm not going to read all these numbers, but it provides for the appointment of an adjudicatory panel by the POA Board of Directors, hereinafter referred to as the board. Said adjudicatory panel, hereinafter the panel, may hold hearings to determine if any property owners should be fined or have privileges and services of the planned community suspended, or both, for violations of the declarations of restrictions and rules and regulations of the POA. If the board does not appoint a panel, the board may hold hearings. That's funny, because the board's the one who wrote the ticket. So there's really no unbiased third party here. The board appoints the people that actually wrote the policy and procedure for enforcing speed to have the traffic adjudicatory panel process. And then if you don't agree with them, then you go to the board who actually endorsed the Safety and Security Committee coming up with the policy in the first place. So we as homeowners, as property owners, really have no unbiased third party opinion here on our side. It's really an us versus them situation. That's what has been created here. So the property owners are entitled to 1, a notice of hearing of speed violation. A notice of speed violation. 2, a hearing. 3, to receive notice of the decision of the panel at the conclusion of the hearing or up to 3 business days after. Appeal the panel's decision to the board. Fines may be levied in conformity with the applicable provisions of the Act. Fines or assessments are eligible to be secured by liens against the property under these provisions of the Act. So the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel. The Traffic Adjudicatory Panel shall consist of 4 members, 3 of whom shall be voting members and 1 non-voting alternate member. The safety and security members are the panel to hear matters regarding speed violations, reference the regulations of common areas, specifically the Speed Enforcement Policy, and the imposition of fines or suspension of community privileges. All TAP members shall serve at the pleasure of the POA board and may be removed by a majority vote of the POA board at any time. In the event of a vacancy on the panel, the board has the authority to appoint members to fill any unexpired terms of office caused by removal, resignation, termination of POA membership, death, or incapacitation of the panel member. So let me just talk really quickly. At the beginning of the meeting, they were just ready to get us started, and there were 5 people already in the room, right? So I was not expecting that. I was expecting 4 members, because that's what it says. There will be 4 members, 3 of whom shall be voting members and 1 non-voting alternate member. They literally went through their names so quick. One man, I don't even think I heard him say his name because other people started talking before. I just happened to catch the spelling of his last name on his 3-inch 3-ring binder that he had sitting in front of him. I did not have the opportunity to write down the names, but the chick at the top of the table, she was like, "We are your safety and security committee. There are 3 of us voting members, 1 alternate." Okay, well, who's the alternate non-voting member? Nope. Then we also had Cynthia, I think her name is, which from the office, she was there taking notes. She didn't take a whole lot of notes for us, I guess, because I took a 9-page letter. But I mean, it wasn't, I did not get a feel off the bat like, hey, we're here for you. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's talk about like, and even the guy with the 3-inch 3-ring binder, he literally said at one point, because we were getting heated, me and the lady at the end of the table. And I would say heated. We were in active debate. And he said, I think we have to kind of pause and reset what they are actually here for. Well, no, I know what I'm here for. Do you know what you're here for? Like, we can't actively have a debate, but like, you're basically, the way he insinuated it was like, we're not really here to talk in this level of detail. Maybe we need to reset expectations on what we actually need to hear from you. No, you will hear what I have prepared. There were no instructions herein to tell me what documentation I could or could not bring. So you will hear what I have prepared. Okay. So, I mean, just, I can't tell you who was on the safety and security committee that was at our meeting. I wish I could. I'm sure they hope they don't see me at the grocery store. The members of the panel shall be appointed by the board from the membership of the Property Owners Association. The members appointed must be in good standing with the Property Owners Association and agreeable to serving as a panel member without remuneration. Appointed members shall not be officers of the association or members of the board. The Safety and Security Committee shall also appoint to this panel an alternate member, herein alternate, who is able to participate as outlined below and is willing to serve as a voting member when appointed. The alternate is expected to attend all hearings and should be familiar with the procedures. The alternate will participate in the hearing phase. The alternate will participate in the findings discussion, but will not have an active vote unless he or she is substituting for an absent voting member. When possible, the committee will call the alternate in advance of the hearing to substitute for an absent voting member. Panel members are required to abide by the POA's Code of Conduct and Conflicts of Interest policies and shall be required to sign agreements with respect to confidentiality. Members shall also recognize that all documents and records generated by the panel are the property of the POA and are not to be removed from the POA office. Appeals. The lot owners may appeal the decision of the TAP to the board by delivering written notice of appeal to the board within 15 days after the date of the decision. The board shall review the evidence considered by the panel and, in the board's discretion, affirm, vacate, or modify the panel's decision. Procedures below, this is the instruction and procedures for the notice conducted or to conduct the hearings by the panel. We're very long-winded here. All right, procedures for, considering several of these things are saying nothing. Procedures for the adjudicatory panel, notices of hearing and procedure for conducting hearings. For alleged violations of the common areas pertaining to speed enforcement, a notice of the alleged infraction hereinto whatever notice shall be sent to the property owners by regular mail and or email. So let me just put a pin in this. If you have a property here in the community I suggest that the office have your correct mailing address and or email address, because you can get it one and or both ways. If you only get it through email and you don't regularly open your Fairfield Harbor emails and those tend to go to spam, you, you are not guaranteed to get this through the mail and or email. The mail sent according to this provision shall be addressed to the property owners and posted to the member's account maintained by the POA. Deposit of mail and or email addressed to the property owners on file with the POA under this section with the United States Postal Service shall constitute and be deemed to be noticed under the provisions of North Carolina General Assembly statute, blah, blah, blah. Notices of alleged violations sent to property owners under this section shall be drafted and sent by and through the POA office. Hearings contested twice a month on the first and third Tuesday at 9 a.m. Cases will be heard on a first-come, first-served basis. No audio or video recordings or digital note-taking in any form shall be permitted. The resident's presentation may consist of oral testimony, photographs, charts, graphs, or any combination thereof, or any other evidence deemed material and competent by the panel. The panel does not have access to any information regarding the property owner's account status or the status of any past matter that has come before the adjudicatory panel. The alleged violation shall be judged on its own merits. The property owners shall have the right to cross-examine and object to the entry of or the consideration of any evidence by the panel. All evidentiary rulings will be made by the TAP with the concurrence of at least two other members of the panel. There were no evidentiary rulings or nobody that seemed to need to have two members of the panel agree with them. At the conclusion of the summations, the panel shall declare the case closed. I don't think we got that far. Or maybe they said that the case was closed and I had left the room at that point. But regardless, the case was closed. The panel shall confer amongst themselves and shall deliver its decision as determined by a majority vote of the panel members, including findings of fact and the imposition of any fines, suspensions of or penalties immediately or within 3 working days of the conclusion of the hearing. Payment is expected upon decision or within 30-day time period before the escalation clause, or within the 30-day time period before the escalation clause. So if you contest it and they say that you are still in violation and you still owe that, your 30 days are still ticking because it's from the postmark date of the letter that you received the violation. Hearings uncontested. If the property owners, after receiving notice of the alleged violation of the regulations for common areas, specifically the Speed Enforcement Policy, who does not wish to contest the violation, property owner has 30 days from the date of the letter to pay the fine. Otherwise, the fine will escalate as per the policy. So let's talk about what that looks like. All fines shall be assessments eligible to be secured by liens under North Carolina General Statute 47F3116. The lot owners may appeal the decision of an adjudicatory panel to the board by delivering written notice of appeal to the POA manager within 15 days after the date of the decision. The board shall conduct a de novo appeal hearing in closed session following the same protocols as set forth above in paragraphs A through E, and the contested hearings protocol for the panel following presentation by the property owner on the appeal. The board shall review the evidence and, in the board's discretion, affirm, vacate, or modify the panel's decision. Did you catch like that? Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that run-on sentences. Anyway, I think it's also interesting as you read this, right? We want to have fewer laws. We want to have fewer rules and make sure that we're maintaining like a healthy environment for people within our community. But yet we throw around legal jargon like de novo appeal hearing without defining it. Where I come from and based on the work that I do, you would have to define what that is, because the average working man, woman, retired man, woman, child, people that are old enough to drive that have not gone through legal education and know what a de novo hearing is, what is that? You have to tell us. You cannot expect that everyone in this community have a basic understanding of law. And if you did, you would be operating a lot differently. So let's talk about what a de novo hearing is. Let's see. Let's Google it really fast, because I keep telling myself, like, what does that even mean? Like, nobody, we explain what every other freaking thing is, but we don't know. De novo appeal. So a de novo appeal. In North Carolina, a de novo standard of review is frequently used as is applicable where there is a question of law posited by the trial court. Under a de novo standard of review, the appellate court considers the matter anew and freely substitute its own judgment for that of the lower court. So they're basically able to say, we're going to hear your appeal from the TAP as new. That makes sense. All right. Well, okay. All right. So that was published August the 11th. All right. That takes care of that. All right. Let's talk really quickly. Let me just show you. This is the Fairfield Harbour Map. And I'm really hoping that everybody can still see this. There's a glare on it because I took a photo. But anyway, so if you're driving, this is Broad Creek Road going towards Highway 55 up here. And if you're driving down Broad Creek Road, there is only one entrance. This is where the guard shack is over here on Cassowary. And this is how you get into the other side of the community, what we call the dark side affectionately. And if this is the birdland down here, right? Well, wait, yeah, birdland. And then, you know, on down here, we have the marina and all that stuff, the resort side. Okay. So when you come in the community and you turn on Caracara, there's Pelican right here. Pelican is this road right here. There is a cart barn, and that is where one camera is. You will see that I added a dot and a circle. This is where the current camera is. All right. This is not a straightaway. This is in a turn. So one would think maybe that we would put the camera somewhere over here in a straightaway because chances, whatever. You also have bike paths that come across both sides that connect you with the greenway. So it's just really not a safe space to be speeding. And people probably slow down here anyway, depending on what time they're coming and going, because the bus picks up from houses right down here and houses right up here. And again, there's bike crossing and people are walking their dogs and stuff like this across the greenway. So this is, anyway, this is where the one camera is today. We did get confirmation at the TAP meeting this morning that that is the only camera or speed measuring device being used by Fairfield Harbour. Now there is another pole on a straightaway on this back side of Caracara, this very back street here. It's about here. There's really no way to kind of assess this. But anyway, it's about here. It is just a pole. So there are signs that flank this camera that say, hey, there is a speed camera ahead. It's working. And that's fine. There are no signs that mark this pole. It's a black pole. It's just standing on its own and there's nothing attached to it today. So anyway, those are the only two cameras, here and here. So from my perspective, if you live anywhere on this, what I call the gondolier circle, because this is how I ride my bikes and stuff when I'm not on the greenway, but I call this the gondolier circle. If you're not anywhere between here, the other, I'll be generous, 75% of our community, if you don't live beyond these two poles, you will never have your traffic assessed, ever. Because we don't have the hardware or software required to measure your speed. So it really is selective penalty at this point. You're either visiting somebody that lives over here on Northwest Creek or within the harbor, or you just trying to get your dog to the dog park or try to take your kids to Red Cell Park. If you're coming over here, just know you will have your traffic assessed right here. Okay. All right. So let's go to it. I'm going to go back to me. I'm hoping that you saw all of that. It looked like you did. Okay. Let's just go back to me because that's important. And I want to walk you through this letter that I crafted. Actually, let me use the version where I took notes. I did not take digital notes. I did not record the meeting in any capacity, but I did take handwritten notes as we were talking with an ink pen and everything. Okay. So I said, good morning. I'm Emily Bartlett here representing myself this morning on August 15th, 2023. And my husband was with me. I was not planning for that because he worked a 20-hour shift last night. And if he had been up all night, he would absolutely have been asleep. But he was there. And I am presenting myself in front of your esteemed Fairfield Harbour Traffic Adjudicatory Panel. I will refer to the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel moving forward in this proceeding as the panel. As this panel is aware, on July 20th, 2023, residents of Fairfield Harbour were made aware of the new Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association, new speed limit 30 miles per hour, new speed enforcement policies, gate entry policies. The original publication of these new policies were posted on FrontSteps and published to Fairfield Harbour residents via email at 4:25 p.m. on July 20th. A revision to the notice, including a revised policy document, was published to FrontSteps entitled New Speed Policy Effective August 1st, 2023, corrections made that same day. Corrections included update to the policy for enforcement of speeding to remove the clause that vehicles observed via radar traveling in excess of 9 miles per hour are subject to penalties. The revised version allows for no variation over the posted 30 mile per hour speed limit. It was not communicated via FrontSteps or pushed via email, but an even more recent revision was made to the policy to have dates and times of the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel meeting on the policy be congruous with the meeting dates and times stated in the speeding violation citation. The second revision to the policy was posted and uploaded to FrontSteps on July 31st. Note that the policy document itself does not indicate any of the revisions to changed language included therein after the original notice came out and maintains the original signature of its adoption as May 15, 2023, prior to all revisions made after the fact. In full, open, transparent disclosure, I would like to note that the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel instructions that guide the creation and processes for this meeting were not published to FrontSteps for review by the membership until 3:48 p.m. Eastern on Friday, August 11, 2023, less than 5 days or less than 2 business days from the first Traffic Adjudicatory Panel meeting to be held at 9 a.m. Eastern on August 15, 2023, today. I'll add that no notice was published to the FrontSteps Notices Board or email pushed with this information or with this instruction document to the membership for review. I wish to appeal fines assessed to me dated August 3rd per the Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association statement received via email on August 4th, both fines assessed totaling $100. My 3 primary reasons for appealing. All right, this first one, I'm a little long-winded in the discussion, but I'm trying to make the point that that's not how this works. Thank you, Ramona. So I got a statement. I'm just going to summarize this first document, okay? Let me see if I can find it. I got a statement. This statement. It says I got a $100 fine, and it gives me both things, right? But it says, August 3rd are my traffic violation dates. August 3rd, August 3rd. My actual notices, and I don't know where the other one is. I have so many pieces of paper on my desk, but my actual notices, one is on the 3rd and one is on the 4th. So it appears that this second fine was assessed before the picture was even taken. And according to that sweet man at the Traffic Adjudicator, well, obviously that's a clerical error. Is it though? I mean, is it? I mean, it may be, and I hope that it is. But you literally, per this sheet of paper that you gave me, are charging me $50 for something that had not even happened yet. And I got this assessment letter was emailed on the 4th. So it was people were inputting information because it came out on Friday, August the 4th. So they could have put it in on Friday, August the 4th, but they didn't. They put it in on the 3rd. I didn't have 2 tickets on the 3rd. There was one assessed on the 3rd and one on the 4th. So you tell me, I can only go by what you tell me. And I'm expecting you to be honest, open, and transparent. And if you made a mistake, why don't you say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. We had no idea. It's obviously a clerical error. Let's get that fixed for you. And then we can resend this assessment. But no, he literally looked at me, put his hand on the desk like this and said, it's obviously a clerical error. Well, whose fault's that? I'm not the cleric. So anyway, that's what number 1 is. You have charged me money before I actually even got the fine assessed, like before you actually took the picture. Anyway, this is number 2. Both alleged speed violation letters are addressed to me, Emily Bartlett. Both violation letters state that the vehicle is registered to me. That it literally says that in the letter. The letter reads, your vehicle was captured, Dear Emily Bartlett, your vehicle was captured exceeding the posted speed limit for the community. The action needed to remedy this issue is pay the $50 fine within 30 days or appear before the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel. We would appreciate your attention to this matter. The Traffic Adjudicatory Panel meets on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of every month from 9 to 10 a.m. in room 3 of the activities building. Appointments will not be scheduled. Violators will be processed on a first come, first heard basis. Look, here's my watch. Abnormal high heart rate detected. Please allow plenty of time due to potential volume. The TAP does not have the authority to levy fines in regard to each violation of governing documents, and all fines shall be assessments. Assessments is spelled wrong, by the way. There are 2 A's and then 2 S's. We don't need to be that big of an ass. But fines shall be assessments eligible to be secured by liens under North Carolina. The speed violation can be found online. If you have any further need for information, please call the Fairfield office, blah, blah. Then the actual letter that you get says, Fairfield Harbour Community, North Carolina. The Fairfield Harbour Property Owners Association is committed to upholding the covenants, conditions, restrictions of the Property Owners Association, speed being one of them. This letter indicates that a vehicle registered to you at this address was significantly speeding the posted 30-mile-per-hour speed limit as shown below. The excessive speed was 38 miles per hour. But anyway, it says it's registered to me. It says, I am the owner on the letter. Your vehicle was captured. This vehicle is registered to you. This is not my vehicle. I don't drive a truck. I don't own a truck. And this truck is not registered to me. And if you look, it's like 6:11 in the morning. This truck, you can't even make that picture make the actual license plate number make sense. You can't. You just can't. You also cannot tell. This ticket does not include the year, make, or model of the vehicle in question. I have no idea what color this truck is. And there are people in this community that have speeding tickets that have colored photos. I'm assuming that this is not colored because the sun has not come up yet. But I'm just saying, the devil is in the details. And you're not doing it right. Okay? So both violation letters state that the vehicle is registered to me. The vehicle in both photos is unclear, and neither the speed notice received, and I give the numbers, provide details of the year, make, model, color of the vehicle in the photo. The photo is dark, and I can neither confirm nor deny that the printed license plate number is actually what is photographed in the picture. Regardless, I am not the owner of this vehicle, and this vehicle is not registered to me in the state of North Carolina. Now, I will be full, open, honest, and transparent. This vehicle is owned and registered in the state of North Carolina to my husband. But the letter is not addressed to me. And this is where I got into a conversation with the lady at the end of the table, because she was like, but you're the property owner. So is he. My husband is the property owner, as am I. So why are the letter and the violation ticket to me? He lives here too. It is a problem, especially when you start getting renters, commercial drivers, contractors, when you start introducing these other people, and I'm about to start getting these tickets that say, this contractor, how do I know they were here visiting me? I mean, it just is, it's in the details, and the details matter, because when you do one thing wrong, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And you have done this wrong. And be vulnerable. I'm not expecting perfect. Be willing to say, oh my gosh, Emily, thank you so much for letting us know. Not sit at the end of a table and be like, you are the property owner. It doesn't matter, Emily. That truck is registered to your house. Like your husband, it's registered to him, but it's registered at that address. So it's your ticket. You're the property owner. So is he. We don't have combined finances. I get what you're saying, but what you're saying does not make sense for those that have a budget that actually ties and that we reconcile every month with our bank statement. Okay? If the banks did this, if the IRS did this, oh, hey, you didn't pay taxes last year, your property taxes, we sent them to the property owner, or we sent them to the renter, not the property owner. It just went to the address. No, that's not how this works. You have to be detail oriented, and you have to have processes that ensure that your messages are to the right audience and that you're assessing fees to the right people for the right violations. And I am not seeing that here. And yes, you can argue with me all day that this is semantics, right? We both live here. The truck stays here. It is registered to this property address. I get that. Yes. But why me? What about the people who have sons and daughters that are in from college where the vehicle is not registered to us and we have no idea when they're coming? That was somebody's experience this morning that was waiting to be heard at the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel Meeting. We have people that have boyfriends and girlfriends that come and go from this community. You have to have a policy and procedure that contemplates kind of all of these oddities or things outside of the norm. You have to do that when you put something in place like this that impacts all, in all caps, vehicular traffic. You have to have a policy that is robust enough to contemplate all of the property owners and the drivers of said vehicular traffic. So on August the 2nd, which is one day after the new policy went into effect, there was still tangible signage. Look, I even put the picture in here with a date timestamp. There was still signage posted on Cara, both sides. And he was like, it was just one way. No, it was two ways. This sign is backwards because it's for people coming down the road. And then you got this sign, 35, August 2nd. Yes, it took us some time to get all the signage taking place, but your policy changed the day before. You should have not had a policy exist or be enforceable until after you had all of your ducks in a row. It's not my fault that you did it wrong, but you're holding me accountable for something that literally you expected me to read a sheet of paper, but yet visibly in my line of sight, as I am driving my vehicle, as I am required to look at all regulatory road signs per the test I had to take to get my driver's license in the state of North Carolina, I am required to observe and follow all posted road signage. And road signage still said 35. I know your sheet of paper said something different. Tell me, how this road sign does not supersede what's on this sheet of paper when it's in my vision as I'm driving. Once we start making exceptions for, oh, you don't have to look at that regulatory sign. Oh, you don't have to look at that regulatory sign. At what point do we start to create a process that is just unenforceable? You can't, if you're going to do it for one, you have to do it for all. I stand by that. Okay, but listen, while those are my primary 3 reasons for appealing the alleged, see, I had to have these notes because I would get all, in my feelings while I was in that meeting. I didn't want that to happen, though she pulled it out of me. I was trying really hard. Anyway, while those are my primary 3 reasons for appealing the alleged speeding citations, I would like to add additional color as to why the singular policy change has caused so much vitriol and dissension across our community. I think it's wise for the panel to note that community members are actively reaching to news outlets, and multiple active in good standing communities plan to have their home listed for sale in the coming months as a direct result of this policy change, how it was created, and how it's being enforced. This is not a good look for our community and a deterrent for home buyers. And when I said that, the lady at the end of the table, she's like, you mean to tell me people are putting their houses for sale because of this? I do. And I gave her 2 examples. I did not dox the people that I was talking about, but I gave her one example of a yard sale that was done this past weekend where the lady literally said, when this went out, I put my house on the market. I am moving back up north. I'm not sitting here for this. And she said, oh, does she have, the lady at the end of the table, oh, does she have kids? No. Oh, well, then she can move. This is a young community full of families. And I about lost it, y'all. I about lost it because you have, with people with families like me, I have 2 kids in school. They go to Arapahoe. We have jujitsu. We have taekwondo. We travel for tournaments because my daughter is in competitions for taekwondo. I work multiple full-time jobs. My husband works at our local hospital here in Eastern North Carolina. We are active community members that are not sitting here in our house all day, every day. And the fact that she looked at me, oh, well, she doesn't have kids, she can go. This is a young, upcoming community. But yet your policies and your procedures and your meeting times and your board meeting times and the way that you conduct yourselves do not make yourselves available to those of us that work for a living and have kids we have to take to doctor's appointments and school. You are not creating an environment for people like me that work with kids. And the fact that you said that to me, oh, well, she doesn't have kids, she can move. I don't want people to move. Aside from the fact that the meetings are at times when people are work, aside from the fact that if you want to join the board, you have to sign some kind of confidentiality agreement. And you can't have podcasts and you can't post on social media and you can't be vulnerable and you can't be forthright with information. The fact that all of those things exist, we have really good neighbors, really good people in this community of all generations. We are a multi-generational community. And I don't want people to move over how you went about enforcing a speed policy. It's not the policy. We want our community to be safe. It's how you went about it. And that's not okay, that we encourage them to move if they don't want to get on board. And I will add, now that you got me on my soapbox, to all the people that are like, just take off from work and go to the meeting. What if you had to go to the bank? The bank's not going to hold extended hours for you, but let me tell you what the banks do. Let me tell you what your doctor's appointments, what your doctor's offices do. Yes, they have regular office hours that typically overlap. Some have extended hours, some have Saturday hours. There is online banking. That was a genesis of more and more people going back into the workforce back into the 90s, more parents, especially mothers, going back into the workforce. So we had to give people a way to do banking that did not require them to go into a brick and mortar building to deposit their checks, to check their online statements, to be able to see how much money they had, make transactions, pay bills. Technology enabled us to create a way for folks to still access their money and do what they needed to do from a financial perspective without having to go into a brick and mortar building. Okay. Doctor's offices, telemedicine. You have the ability to call in regardless of your insurance company. You may not want to. You may want to see a doctor in person. And some doctors, for some ailments or illnesses, may require that they see you in person. And for that, you have to make an exception and figure out what you're going to do. But by and large, I do all of my visits for my kids and myself included via telemedicine when possible. I don't want to go into a place with a whole bunch of other sick people to figure out why I'm sick. I want to get something else. And technology has allowed us to do that. Technology allows this board to do so much more than what you're doing now. And you say you want to be innovative. You say you want to push into this new century and you want to be a community full of working people and young families. You say you want to do that. You have to take the steps to enter that age, because we do not fall into this whole archaic print out this sheet of paper and come to this meeting and hear this, but you can't take any digital notes. You can't do any recordings. We're not going to do this via Zoom. You're not making provisions for the people that you say you want in here. All right. So the speed violation cover letter sent to me attests to Fairfield Harbor being committed to upholding the covenants, conditions, and restrictions of the Homeowners Association, speed being one of them. That's what's in this letter right here. I would like to know when upholding the speed became a priority of the Safety and Security Committee. This panel and the board, prior to August 1st, 2023, the speed limit within our community had been 35 miles per hour and was unenforced. And every single person in the TAP meeting this morning confirmed that no tickets have ever been given out, no speed has ever been measured except to collect data over the past few years while that camera has been installed and was moving back and forth between Carrick-Air and Pelican. Nothing was enforced. For historical reference and preservation, I want to note that if you look back at board meeting minutes, the first time speed is mentioned at the board meeting was at the April 18th, 2023 meeting, where minutes note that there was no policy or procedure about speeding for our community. Pat Dumont and Matt Shiplet from the Safety and Security Committee took action to create one. What prompted this agenda item being added to that meeting agenda? What prompted the Safety and Security Committee to want to create this policy and procedure? Why now? You say you've been wanting to do this for years. Why now? Speed is not mentioned in any of the board meetings from January through this April 18th meeting. Not at all. And then all of a sudden on the April 18th meeting, it's there. Why? Who brought it up? And when I asked that question at the meeting this morning, the answer from the lady at the end of the table was, we've been trying for years to get the board to do something about speed in this community, but they haven't done it. Prior boards did this, and she explained. And then for years, though, we've been talking about speed. Well, you wouldn't know it. It's not in any of the meeting minutes. So I can't really speak to what is or what, because if it's not documented, it didn't happen. But she said, and I don't want to throw the board under the bus, but we've been trying. Well, that's exactly what you just did. When you say, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Hey, I don't like to talk about so-and-so, but hey, I'm not that kind of person, but I wanted to make you aware. You're absolutely that kind of person. You're absolutely the person that would talk about someone else to someone else. You're absolutely the kind of person that would throw the board underneath the bus because your Safety and Security Committee has been wanting to do this for years, but the board never got on board. I mean, not that I don't want to put them under the bus. But we've been trying to do that. Well, that's exactly what you just did. You just put them under the bus because now you're asking me to show you favor because you've been trying to do this for a long time. Again, I'm not opposed to this. Make the speed limit 25, but do it the right way. So anyway, we had the April 18th meeting. That was the first time speed is noted in the meeting minutes as having been a topic of discussion. So then in the May 2nd POA working session, the Safety and Security Committee suggested speeders receive a warning letter prior to a citation and fines be noted. It was asked that Attorney Carmichael be contacted about the process, but there are no notes about the fact that that did or did not happen and or the outcome of the consultation with Attorney Carmichael. Then in the May 15th board meeting, Director Myler made a motion that was denied to move forward with the speed policy without changing the speed limit to 30 miles per hour. So Director Myler, thank you. I would like for you to hear it from me first. Thank you so much for suggesting that we enforce a new speed policy in the right way without reducing the speed, keeping it at 35, would have made this a lot easier, okay? Because I'm sure there would have been a lot less communication and confusion. But that was denied. But I appreciate you trying. I think your mind was right. But at that same May 15th board meeting, President Hewitt made a motion to move forward with the policy for speeding with the speed limit changed to 30 miles per hour, and it was approved by President Hewitt, Vice President Miller, and Directors Albertini and Pendleton. There was no documentation that describes the community-wide collaboration on proposed solutions to speed deterrence, review of iterative updates to a speed policy and procedure prior to being voted on and adopted, based on my assessment of those board meeting minutes. And when I mentioned collaboration, the lady at the end of the table who was so vocal and helpful during this morning's TAP meeting, she mentioned that the role of the board and the Safety and Security Committee meeting is governance, not collaboration, that the collaboration happens at the committee level. She said, imagine there are 2,700 homes, and Ms. Voich, sitting right beside me, said it's 2,800, a little more than 2,800 now. And she said, okay, so imagine if we had to put out something and we needed to get input from 2,800 people or 2,800 properties. Can you imagine the amount of time? Can I imagine the amount of time that it would take you to reach out to 2,800 homes? Yes, I can, because what you do is you come up with a communication strategy and a project plan, right? So we have a project, something new that we want implemented. We have the date that we started this process, and we have the date that we want to implement it. That's the time frame that we're working within. And we say one of the steps of our project plan is that we are going to get a list of all the addresses, active addresses with property owners. And are we sending them a survey? Are we sending them a document that needs to be filled out? Do we want them to call in and give us feedback on a certain topic, policy, or project? Yes, the time is in the communication strategy. You give property owners a time limit to have followed your process by and to send information back in. And then you have an amount of time built into your project plan to review all of that information, to summarize it, to create a plan forward, such that at the next board meeting, annual meeting, budget meeting, newsletter, weekly newsletter, beacon notice, any of these other communication modalities, you can say, hey, on this date, we reached out to you because your feedback is important into how we run this community and the amenities that we make available to you as property owners. We want to make sure that this community property values stay high. And how do we list it here in one of these policies? We want making living here a dream. Okay. And thank you so much for those that took the time to input. We've summarized your input. This is what came out of that. And this is our path forward. Yeah, I can imagine the amount of time it would take to reach out to 2,800 homes because I was the president of a more than 4,000 home property owners association in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I did it multiple times a year for different things. That's how we got the Chamber of Commerce to recognize our 5K, because we as a community came together to do it together. We are here for governance. Collaboration is done at the committee level. It is not community-wide, is exactly what she said. I even put in quotes, not community-wide. Welcome to the community. Furthermore, Furthermore, our POA has elected to note North Carolina general statutes prudent for members to be aware of, but I would also like to include several statutes for review and consideration as part of my appeal notice. For the purposes of time, I've extrapolated only those clauses that have questions or concerns about. You can search for the complete statute legislation on ncleg.gov website. And I quote North Carolina General Assembly Statute 160A-300.1. That is the use of traffic control photographic systems. I also reference General Assembly Statute 8-50.2, result of speed measuring instruments, admissibility. And this is where I got laughed at. Okay. So I said, we basically asked for the inventory of all of the cameras or equipment being used. And it was confirmed that there is only one, and it is on Pelican. Then they went on to say that TrafficLogix is who we used to purchase the camera, and we maintain the hardware, and TrafficLogix maintains the software. Okay. TrafficLogix maintains software. And so I asked him, I'm going to have to pull up another document here in a second. I'm going to do it but I asked him, because at the beginning of the meeting, I was given this document. And this document is not publicly available, but it is the combination of a few documents. And the lady at the end of the table, who I became great friends with, she is the one who handed this to me as I sat down. Okay. So I had not had a chance to review this prior to the meeting. Okay. But I do have it. I did a scan, and it is in electronic format. But this document, not available on FrontSteps. You're only going to get it whenever you go to the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel. She starts out by saying, I want to give you this sheet of paper because we've had a bunch of questions about the traffic cameras themselves. What types of cameras are there? Do they need calibration? How often are they calibrated? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I read in North Carolina General Assembly Statute 300 I read from North Carolina General Assembly Statute 8-50.2 that the operator of an instrument used in measuring speed at the time of the results of the speed measuring instrument was used to obtain data, a certificate of the North Carolina Criminal Justice Education and Training Standards Commission, that operator should have that certificate authorizing him or her to operate the speed measuring instrument from which the results were obtained. It goes on in clause 3 to say the instrument employed needs to be approved by the Commission for the Secretary of Public Safety pursuant to General Statute 17C-6, that is powers of commission, and that the speed measuring instrument has been calibrated and tested for accuracy in accordance with the standards established by the Commission for that particular instrument. All radio, microwave, laser, and other electronic speed measuring instruments shall be tested for accuracy within a 12-month period prior to the alleged violation by a technician possessing at least a general radio telephone operator license from the Federal Communications Commission, or possessing a certified electronics technician certificate issued by a Federal Communications Commission commercial operator's license examination manager, or by a laboratory established by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. A written certificate by the technician or laboratory showing the test that was made to calibrate the equipment is required within the period that the instrument was accurate and was competent, as evidence in the facts of any proceeding referred to in subsection A. Okay, so then the gentleman, I think his last name was Abel, that was sitting across from us, my husband is speaking, and he says, people keep talking about these cameras, but they're laser cameras and you can't calibrate a laser camera. And he says, you cannot calibrate a laser camera. You cannot calibrate a laser camera more than once. The document that the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel handed me at the beginning of the meeting, number 1, says our cameras have laser technology. Number 2, cameras only need calibration when moved. So they do need calibration when you move them. Then he and my husband got into this real technical discussion about how you can't really calibrate the laser, but rather you have to calibrate the angle of the camera such that the mirrors inside allow for, you know, all the things that do the math and take the picture so that we get an accurate picture of the license tag, blah, blah, blah. Way up here. This is not my level of expertise. And he says again, right, but that's not calibration. Calibration is making sure that any piece of equipment, regardless of what it is, can actually function and perform the job required of it, right? Calibrate your mechanical pencil, you got to push the lead down, right? Everything requires some level of calibration, especially when you're using it to assess fines to community members. But 2 things came out of this. One, we had an entire discussion about how the cameras have to be calibrated per your own document. It literally says it. Look right here. Oh, wait. Cameras only need calibration when moved. So you say the camera needs to be calibrated, but yet you're saying over and over that the cameras cannot be calibrated. So which is it? Multiple times throughout this entire 30 minutes that we've been sitting in this room, you say one thing and it's written something different. Do we see the trend here? This is why people don't trust you. This is why we go to these links to try to prove our point. I literally have pages and pages of general statutes that I printed and highlighted and made notes on. Every general statute that you, Fairfield Harbor, have put out into the ether as this is the General Assembly statute that we follow for this. This is the General Assembly statute we follow for this. Even on your piece of paper, this is General Assembly Statute 47F3102. I pull them all. I read them all because what matters to you matters to me. I live here. I own 2 properties here. It matters. And I'm telling you that you're important and the work that you do is important and we want to be on the same page. The way you're going about it is wrong. But you give me all the North Carolina General Assembly statutes that I go and print. I literally have an entire Fairfield Harbor book I keep now. I print them, I read them, and then I bring you General Assembly statutes for roads and signage for the like the signage that should be no more than 300 feet from the camera and has to follow certain policies. And I tell you that the results of speed measuring instruments, it says per General Assembly statute that they have to be calibrated and that there are certificates that people that are using and operating the camera, that are calibrating the camera, there is no exception to calibration in the General Assembly statutes that I have found. There are certificates that these people and training that they go through. I want to see that. I want to see the calibration records. You even had Jennifer posting on Facebook, Yes, we calibrated the camera and we drove a few cars by. That's not how you calibrate things. Just driving a few cars by. What does TrafficLogix say? You said you follow the guidance from TrafficLogix to calibrate hardware, is what the gentleman told me this morning in the TAP meeting. So you follow their guidance to calibrate the thing, and you tell me that it only needs to be calibrated when it's moved. And in the same breath, you're like, we have so many questions about this calibration. They don't need to be calibrated. You can't calibrate a laser. It's just not done the right way. I want to be on your side. I want to help you. I want to be a productive member of this community, but you're making it really, really hard. And when things aren't done the right way, you have to speak up. I will not shut up. I will not shut up. I want to be part of the process. I can't tell you the number of times I've told you I do federal contracting for a living. I can read federal acquisition regulation. I can interpret, but you can't tell me all of these General Assembly statutes the POA follows and is governed by and was created by, but yet all of these General Assembly statutes that I give you, those don't apply to us. That was literally what she said. When I read the one about I am requesting written documentation of the owners and calibration professionals used for measuring for the speed measuring devices owned and employed by Fairfield Harbour Map. She laughed at me while I'm reading and said, those don't apply to us. These are private roads. Those don't apply to us, is what she said. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. And then I'm going to start kind of reading my letters because I'm going to pick it back up, but I'm not reading through the General Assembly statutes that I gave them because evidently they don't apply here. And I don't know enough to know what I don't know about how sovereign POAs and HOAs are. I don't even know if we are a property owner or a homeowners association. We reference ourselves both ways in a ton of different documentation. So, and the rules of both are very distinct and finite and different. And so I got wrapped around the axle, but it's important. And if we can't be clear in what matters, then nothing matters. And I want to be clear about that, but I will not be quiet about this. And I'm willing to help. Let me help you. I will not sit on a committee to do it. I have to work. But I will take time off like I did today to attend the meeting and to make sure that other people in the community that have to work, that work jobs that require them to be in the hospital. We have so many staffing shortages in the hospital. They can't just take off on a Friday when they actually get the instructions for how to appear at the traffic. You can't just take off like that when you work in the hospital, when you work in a service industry where people are expecting you to be there for your shift. And it's elitist to assume as much. Then we talk about the communication. I'm just going to press on. I talk about disparity in communication. I say Fairfield Harbor is a multi-generational community in rural eastern North Carolina, and as of 1:10 a.m. this morning, on the day of the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel Meeting, there have been only 81 views of the revised notice. That was the July 20th revised notice, so it's been out there for nearly a month. 81 views. There are 2,800 homes in here on FrontSteps. That's how many views it has. And then there was a notice published on July 31st, but because that wasn't posted to the notices board, you don't know how many people viewed it. I'm assuming that FrontSteps could provide that information if we requested it, but no one's reading this information, at least not a majority, even not a solid minority. But keeping in mind that the notice published 25 days ago on July 20th doesn't even include the most recent revisions. I would like to know how many property owners, members in good standing and not, renters, contractors, commercial drivers, and guests know that the July 31st version of the revised policy is available and have read it. I want to know that number. I'm also requesting to know how many property owners, members in good standing and not, renters, contractors, commercial drivers, and guests know that the August 11th version of the traffic adjudication panel instructions are published and have read those. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Communication is a complete loop that starts with sending out a message, but if your message is not received and read by and ingested by your intended audience, then you have failed to effectively communicate. This is a new policy. It was also pushed out via email to property owners, but yet applies to property owners, renters, contractors, commercial drivers, and guests. The Fairfield Harbour POA and board know that there is a subsection of our community without means to access electronic communications. They know this because that's the whole reason I started the Fairfield Harbour podcast, as noted by the board in the January 17th, 2023 meeting minutes. I started the podcast for my dad when I moved to Fairfield Harbour in 2022 to get information that he's unable to read due to age and having no smartphone or computer. I have since been told by several community members that it's been a great help because they own a property here but live full-time elsewhere, or their caregivers set them up with access to YouTube on their TV and they've been able to watch it, and it gives them perspective into what's happening in our community. I would like to see proof that Fairfield Harbour community is making sure that all residents and property owners, guests and visitors, renters are informed and understand our policies, procedures, especially new ones, how those impact them, and understand what the appeal processes are, especially for this traffic and speeding situation. Equal enforcement was my final point. To my knowledge, there is only one speed measuring camera in Fairfield Harbour on Pelican. Based on placement, more than 75% of our community will never pass that camera unless they're visiting someone along the waterfront, or what I call the gondolier circle. How will other property owners, visitors, contractors, guests of Fairfield Harbour in areas not within eyesight of the camera on Pelican have their speed assessed and enforced? I'm requesting documentation of all speed monitoring equipment used in Fairfield Harbour and proof that it meets provisions outlined in General Statutes 8-50.2 and General Statute 17C-6. The policy does not contemplate policy exemptions like medical emergencies, community property owners that are first responders, or volunteer firefighters. Are there exemptions? If so, how are those managed and enforced? And when there's no mention of them in the policy or any appeal process. In order for this to work and the POA and the board not get into litigation over this, it has to be equitable and it has to be enforced uniformly. And the policy is not robust enough to contemplate all vehicular traffic and all people that come through our community. I am requesting documented policies and procedures that the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel and board will use to consistently and equally assess and enforce the policy and appeals process appropriately. I want to ensure that there is no favor shown to an individual or group based on their affiliation with the board, any community clubs or committees, location of property owned within Fairfield Harbour, and or products or services provided to Fairfield Harbour, its property management group, gate personnel, community representatives, elected officials, and or relationship to property owners. How can the board and property owners be made aware when exceptions are made to measuring the speed of all persons driving within the community boundaries of Fairfield Harbour, and or the enforcement of any financial penalties incurred by driving over the posted speed limit? I agree with you. I've said it on this podcast multiple times. I agree with you that safety is paramount in this community. I want to be part of the movement designed to keep our community safe. However, to date, I have not seen safety be made a priority other than this enforcement of an arbitrary community speed limit, followed by scare tactics of having our publicly elected sheriff armed in Harbor Point branded golf cart being outfitted with lights and the sheriff's emblem added to the front windshield as the lead story of our August 4th community newsletter. And let me add, I brought that up this morning. See, if you looked at the newsletter on August 4th, there's Sheriff Chip Hughes. He's in a Harbor Point branded golf cart, super cute. And then right here is his little sheriff's star. And I love that, right? And it says, the thing says, Sheriff Hughes is all set for patrolling the neighborhood. Give him a wave and say hello. So I made the comment this morning in the TAP meeting that you're scaring people by having Sheriff Chip Hughes, whom I voted for and support, Enforcing speed. That's what you're insinuating here. You do not say it in so many words, but that's what you're saying. And Miss Witch beside me pulled it up on her phone, said, "Is this what you're referring to?" Of course it is. It's the August the 4th newsletter, the very first article. That's what just came out of my mouth. And she says, "You don't need to worry about that." He was not there he was there to patrol the community, not enforce any laws or POA rules. But the Merriam-Webster definition of patrol, which is the word that you used, the action, which is an active, right, verb, action. We're taking action in traversing a district or beat or of going the rounds along a chain of guards for observation and the maintenance of security. The person performing such an action, a unit of persons or vehicles employed for reconnaissance, security, or combat. So if he's in a Harbor Point golf cart cruising the hood with lights, he's got a gun, and I'm all for carrying a firearm. What exactly is he doing if we're just is he just wanting the waves? He's an elected official, right? Is he on his off time? Is he a volunteer in some capacity? Have we asked him to come in and patrol on certain dates and times? It's not clear what he's doing, but it's a very gray level because he lives here. And I just want to be clear because it came across to me posting something on July 20th that we're enforcing speed and the policy is being reduced. The very next newsletter has our sheriff on the front carrying a gun, his patrol golf cart being outfitted with lights, and his sheriff's emblem on the front. And I know that there is they have a substation here now, and per the meeting minutes that I read, I think it was back in May, because I don't think any have been published since June, but sheriff asked about having something here to create a safe space for people to come to that office 1 or 2 days a week to have a conversation with the sheriff's office. I agree. I think that's great. But what's the sheriff's office doing patrolling our community on a golf cart? It just doesn't make sense, and it seems very much like a scare tactic. I just and I don't understand the intent, but the communication strategy seems threatening. But I do want to add that as of today, August 15th, there are 3 registered sex offenders living in the boundaries of Fairfield Harbor, and 5 more that live on Broad Creek Road. And I just want to just stop and say, I didn't get to read all of this in this meeting this morning because I wanted to allow time for people to come in behind us. And when I started getting laughed at my general statute comments and requesting documentation that the operators and calibrators of our traffic camera, I want to see that information, and I got laughed at, I was kind of done at that point. But I will send this in to the office so that they have it. But as of today, there are 3 registered sex offenders in Fairfield Harbor and 5 more that live on Broad Creek Road. Today, we have to travel Broad Creek Road to come and go from our community unless traveling by watercraft. And you will recall that in January 2023, Thomas Gregory Long, 43 years old, was sentenced to 18 to 24 years for felonious larceny, felonious possession of stolen property, and obtaining property by false pretenses after multiple crimes that occurred in Fairfield Harbor specifically. The gate entry process as documented, nor any posted speed signs stop these registered predators from coming and going in and around our community at any time. Yes, safety and security is a top priority, but this rigid focus on speed is not the solution to safety and security. One of the main contributing factors to individuals not feeling safe and secure within their community is lack of trust in the leadership appointed to support them and poor communication. Today, I can tell you that I don't trust the harbor board or any of its representatives. I don't, because you do not communicate. Sure, you have your confidentiality agreements, but that's not a barrier to you being proactive and forthright with your community members. The communication strategy of this board is reactive, not proactive. The board does not share what is not asked for. The board does not seek to include the community, but have the community blindly follow the paths they set forth. And the easiest path they set forth, the straight line to get things taken care of, includes money. And just pay it and be done. Fairfield Harbor's board should be for the people, not above the people. To me, safety and security within our community is assisting those of fixed incomes with the consistent annual increase of POA dues. It's responding to community members when they report oddities to the security guards on duty 24/7. Safety and security in Fairfield Harbor is ensuring our shut-ins and those with mobility issues have opportunities to be a part of the community and have their voices heard. Making it a point to have all community-created materials be Section 508 compliant per the Americans with Disabilities Act so that everyone, regardless of ability, can take an active part in this community. We should know who those residents are that do not have technological capabilities such that we can proactively reach to them, providing them information in a way they can take it in and understand it, and asking how we can be of service to them. I ask that no fines be leveraged on any Fairfield Harbor property owner, renter, guest, contractor, or commercial driver until the following can be provided to everyone entering Fairfield Harbor: a revised speed gate entry policy that notes the revision dates, now two, of what was revised, the date that the board approved that version of the revised policy. Provide clarity on which date starts the appeal clock. The speed violation assessment is two parts: receive the speed notice and then a statement from FrontSteps of the financial assessment. In the month of August, these two documents were received on different dates. What date starts the appeal clock? Include a real flow chart. The one I proposed would be a good start, but feel free to just a flow chart that actually walks you logically through a process that visually depicts the process to follow when a speed notice or statement have been sent to the alleged violator. Review and ensure that stated fines do not exceed maximums as detailed in the North Carolina General Statutes 160A-300.1, and contemplates exceptions that shall be made for any drivers on Fairfield Harbor property that may be reporting to an emergency or be part of a volunteer response services like fire or medic. You update citation form to clearly state the manner in which the violation may be challenged to ensure that documentation is aligned with the revised speed gate entry policy. Written documentation detailing all speed measuring equipment used by Fairfield Harbor. Provide proof that operators of all Fairfield Harbor speed measuring equipment have a certificate from the North Carolina Criminal Justice Education and Training Standards Commission authorizing him or her to operate the speed measuring instrument from which the results of any and all assessments are obtained. Per the same general statute defined in number 6, provide proof that technicians responsible for calibration actually just document whether or not calibration is required. It's written, at least on this sheet of paper that I was given today, that it's required. But yet it seems to be the understanding that it's not required because it's a laser. So let's get clear on that first. And then if it's required, I would like to know who's responsible for the calibration and ensure that they have the minimum general radio telephone operator license from the Federal Communications Commission's or certified electronic technician certificate issued by a Federal Communications Commission commercial operators license examination manager or laboratory established by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And per the general statutes, I would like to see proof that all Fairfield Harbor speed measuring equipment is tested in accordance with the standards established by North Carolina Criminal Justice Education and Training Standards Commission, taking into account the manufacturer, model, and type of speed measuring instruments employed for speed enforcement throughout the community. I would like to see proof that the Secretary of Public Safety has approved the use of the make, model, and type of speed measuring instruments purchased by and employed across Fairfield Harbor for the enforcement of this new speed policy. And I'd like to ensure that all property owners within Fairfield Harbor receive all policy revisions and supporting documentation as required by the state of North Carolina per general statutes referenced herein. Thank you for your time. So we've been on here like 2 hours. So I'm going to go because I got stuff to do and I got to go get my kids from school here in a minute. But yeah, it's been an eventful day. I've learned a lot. It has definitely tried my patience. I want it to be done. I want this for us. I just want it to be done the right way. So let me know what you think in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you. I think everybody in the community at this point has my cell phone number. If you don't, let me know. Message me on Facebook. And if you're reading this and you message me on Facebook Messenger and I don't respond timely, it's because I suck at that tool. But I will get to you and I will tell you what my cell phone number is so that you can just text me directly. Anywho, that's me on the Traffic Adjudicatory Panel meeting this morning. I'm sure I will see you around. Talk soon. Bye.